What's going on, guys? Today's the second training vlog. Feeling a little bit better than I was the first session. The main aim for the session was just to get some weight on the bar without gassing myself too much. I just wanted to hit some higher numbers without overloading the volume, the sets and reps, and yeah, just kind of get my nervous system, I guess, used to expressing more force without overly fatiguing the muscles through volume. So you'll see that as the session unfolds. I hit some front foot elevated split squats at the start as kind of like a warm-up, and also as a bit of a dynamic stretch, because during the week my Achilles tendons were a bit sore, and during the running sessions that I had, my ankle stiffness was not that good. For those who don't know, ankle stiffness is when you're running and your foot hits the ground. It's the ability of your calf and Achilles complex to maintain the angle of your ankle dorsiflexion, so that you're not losing any energy or losing any power as your foot hits the ground, and you can transfer that force from your bigger muscle groups, quads, glutes, whatever, through the knee, ankle, down to the ground. I'll probably explain that again in another video with probably some examples and some demonstrations if anyone doesn't know, or if anyone doesn't understand. But yeah, so I just wanted to give the Achilles a little bit of a work through in part of the warm-up, get the ankles moving, mobile. And I think the front foot elevated split squat is a really good exercise in general. Also, for extra focus on the Achilles, I've got the heel just a little bit off of the weight plate, as you can see, which challenges the Achilles to stop the heel from dropping, which is developing that stiffness. So this is also a good exercise because it opens up the hips. The way that I do it is I picture a straight line from my pelvis down through to my ankle, and I try and squat down along that diagonal line between the pelvis and the front foot. So your whole body wants to basically go downwards diagonally as you do the movement. And so you feel a good stretch in the back leg, in the front leg, and I think it's a really good exercise. I don't do it every session, but it just depends on how I'm feeling. It depends on what exercises I'm doing. So today I hit squats, double leg, or normal squats as most people call them, and squats and the single leg RDLs like I did. RDL means Romanian deadlift, by the way. Single leg RDLs like I did the previous session, but I upped the intensity a little bit, put some more weight on the bar. This is my first warm-up set for the squats. I was feeling pretty decent. My hips were a little bit tight, feeling a little bit jammed up, but I just wanted to get some reps in with 20 kilos because I knew that wouldn't really fatigue me, just get the blood flow going for the session. But for the working sets, which you'll see in a bit, I stuck to sets of 2, which sounds like not many reps at all, and it's not, but it's just a good way to put some weight on the bar without feeling like you've killed yourself by the end of the session. So it's a common thing with my training in the past. Whenever I was doing a lot of things at the same time, sport, gym, all of that, I used to keep the reps and sets pretty low because it would just fatigue me to the point where it would take away from my performance on the football pitch, and I wouldn't be able to run as well. So yeah, that's basically the rationale behind the low reps. And so this is the first set with 60 kilos, which was fine. The 60, 80, and 100 were my first 3 sets, and they felt great. Another thing when I'm trying to minimize muscular fatigue is I'll do one working set at the heaviest weight, and so I'll build up from each set, from a lightweight to an intermediate weight, then a heavyweight. So there's only really one working set. So your central nervous system's still getting exposed to that intensity. You're still producing a lot of force, but you're not overly fatiguing yourself. So that was really the goal with this session, and you'll see here with the set of 100, it felt good. It felt nice and controlled, didn't feel too hard at all. And I was hitting depth reasonably well, and yeah, it didn't give me any trouble at all. Keep in mind my PR for squats back in the day when I was at my strongest, I did a set of 2 with 145, so about 25 kilos off that today. And keep in mind this set of 120, the second rep, I wouldn't say I'm fully satisfied with. I didn't hit proper depth, and I think I rushed it, to be honest. There it is there. I didn't really go down as low as I could have or should have. Maybe on a better day, if I was feeling a bit looser and more mobile, I would have hit that. But yeah, it was just, I wanted to touch the high weight and then back it off. So moving on into the RDLs, the Romanian deadlifts, I tend to do a lot more single leg hamstring work than double leg because I've got an imbalance. I've noticed that my left hamstring is a little bit, well, noticeable for me, but a little bit smaller than the right one. So I tend to try and do most of the hamstring work one leg at a time, so that I know that each leg's getting the same stimulus. And I know you're not going to eliminate every single imbalance because, we're human at the end of the day. Everyone, no one's going to be perfectly symmetrical, especially if you're not bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, they try and achieve perfect symmetry, and, that's not something that we really prioritize in lifting for athletic performance. But anyway, the RDLs felt okay. Legs were a little bit stiff, and the other thing I'm looking for with this exercise is trying to keep my pelvis parallel to the ground and trying not to tilt from side to side. But I find that whenever I do them over time, as I get better, the reps now that you're seeing are pretty decent. My pelvis isn't tilting that much, maybe a little bit there on the second rep. Just trying to keep a square, flat pelvis, because it's really important for you to be able to control the position of your hips, and proprioception is a very big part of injury prevention in sport. Proprioception, for those who don't know, means just being aware of where your body and your limbs are positioned in space. And it's something that you can work on. It's something that improves over time. And I'm sure that as I keep this up, my proprioception will improve anyway. So, same philosophy with the squats. I was just working through one set at each weight, 2 reps on each leg. I just wanted to hit some high intensity, up the upper end of my strength at this moment in time. I wouldn't say these are maxes. I wouldn't say these are the max efforts that I can lift. I reckon I could push a little bit further, but today wasn't the day for that. And considering the traveling and just getting used to a new training schedule again, I've got to be really careful with overloading myself. And that's where the majority of injuries happen, when you have a sharp increase in training load. And yeah, so here's the heaviest set, which is 60 kilos per leg. That rep wasn't that bad. Neither was that one. I think, again, as with the squats, I'm kind of rushing the last set when the weight's the heaviest. And maybe I probably pushed it a little bit too far. I'm not sure. I could probably back it off on the next session and see how I go with that. So that was the main heavy stuff done. And now I was just looking at a bit more accessory work, some side lunges, but I try and do Cossack lunges, and Cossack lunges are a lot deeper than these. And I'll probably do that next session, but these are just regular side lunges, like stationary side lunges with a 4 kilo kettlebell. And it's more of more of the same philosophy as with the front foot elevated split squats at the very, very start of the workout. It's a bit of a stretch, bit of an exercise all at the same time. I think it's good because you're training the muscles to contract at end range when they're being stretched at their longest. So I balanced this out with some abductor work. I mentioned in the previous vlog that I didn't do any abductor work in that workout. I did some today, and it's pretty challenging exercise this, the side plank with the top leg raises, because as you're trying to raise that top leg, your pelvis kind of wants to drop, to fall down. I supersetted those with the ab wheel rollouts, which I really enjoy. It's a tough exercise, and I think it's just good for your the front end of your core, hip flexors, hip flexors, abs, all of that. And this part of the workout was much more relaxed. I was doing a lot of stretching in between these supersets. Maybe you could call them giant sets, I don't know, because I was doing three exercises in a row. Adductors, abductors, and then the rollouts. So you can see me here just stretching. So I'm going to spend this half of the video just talking through the goals, the main targets that I want to hit overall in this series, and I'll rattle off my personal bests to the best of my memory. Squat, my best was 145 for 2. I think I mentioned that at the start of the video. Deadlift, a regular deadlift, not a Romanian. Deadlift was 150 kilos for 1 rep. My best power clean, which I haven't shown yet, but all of these exercises you'll see at one point or another during the series as I try and build them up again. Power clean was 92.5 kilos. Bench press 95 for 1. And push press 80 kilos for 1. Front squat 100 kilos for 5. And chin-ups palms facing inwards or facing me, was 35 kilos for 3. Weighted chin-ups, Pull-ups 30 kilos for 3. I think it's normal to be a bit stronger in the chin-ups than the pull-ups. And pendlay row, which is similar to the bent over row but not exactly, was 85, I think, or 82 kilos for 1. With the Romanian deadlift, the double leg variation, back when I used to do double leg variations, my best ever set was 8 reps with 122.5. And I think that's most of the lifts, to be honest. I've got some other targets as well, like with the Nordic curls that I did in the last video, where I secure my heels and I fall forward. For hamstrings, I want to be able to do a full controlled eccentric and just touch my nose to the ground, without falling. That's a goal of mine. Same with the reverse Nordic, falling backwards and resisting with the quads. I just want to go all the way back, control that whole range, and be strong, even at extreme muscle lengths. And that's really important for injury prevention in sport, because you find yourself in positions where, the muscle is compromised. For example, in football, you might be lunging in for a tackle. You might be sprinting and try and reach out to control a ball, or anything like this. It's an injury risk. So you got to be strong at long ranges. So flexibility is also important for that. You got to get into the positions first before you try and express power or strength in those positions. I think a lot of people neglect that. It's not just about strength. You've got to physically have the capacity to achieve these positions with your body before you can then express force in those positions. Otherwise, something will break down. It won't work. And the same thing, I think, is a misconception with skill execution in football. A lot of people try and execute skills that they simply do not have the physical capacity to execute. And it also stems down to a lack of knowledge. A lot of people don't realize these things until they're exposed to, or they work with high-level people, or people who've been involved with sport, at the upper echelons. I'm lucky enough that I have been exposed to very high-quality people, especially in the strength and conditioning space. So that's where a lot of my knowledge comes from. Now, this workout was probably a bit disjointed. It was very intense at the start, and then going into more of a maintenance thing at the end. At the moment, I'm just trying to listen to my body and think of what bases I need to cover whilst I'm getting used to the new training schedule. Change of environment, 15,000 kilometers away from where I was before, so the grounds are different, the air is different, everything's different. You have to just give your body time to adjust. Now, that's not something that I'm usually very good at. Usually I like to hit the ground running and just train as much as possible. It's just the way I am. But I think it's a good problem to have. I spend a lot more time trying to reel myself in, because some people have the opposite problem, and they spend all their time trying to motivate themselves to actually train. So I have to stop myself from training too much. So I think moving forward, I'm going to be settling into a more structured program as my body gets used to the training schedule. Eventually, I will add in the upper body sessions as well, but there's a reason that I'm not at the moment. I think my priority with my time and energy and scheduling should be reconditioning my legs, because it's football I'm going to be playing at the end of the day. And also, I've got some theories and some ideas about body shape in football, center of mass, and I think it's really, if you look at players who have the same height as me, or around my height, so I'm 5'7" and a bit, or just over 170 centimeters. There's a lot of muscle mass focused around the thighs and basically from the core downwards, and that helps with agility, balance, and that sort of thing. So I'm always trying to work on that, and if I'm going to put muscle on, I'd like to put muscle around my thighs. That little shuffle you just see me do now with my foot is whenever I lose balance in a lunge position, I can kind of compensate by shuffling my foot outwards. Just widens the base of support. But yeah, so my goal is to put some muscle on again around my thighs, lower that center of gravity, and try and minimize putting on excess mass in the upper body. Eventually, though, that's going to happen as I incorporate the upper body movements, the upper body sessions, because I've got targets that I want to hit, and I think upper body strength and explosiveness is still important in football and in life in general. Yeah, it's good, and it's psychologically beneficial, I think, to feel that you're a strong, powerful, competent person, and it affects other areas of your life. So I'm not going to delve into the philosophical stuff now, but that's just a bit of my rationale. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've made it this far, the next sessions are going to be ever changing until I settle into a routine, and then when that happens, it'll be much easier to see the progress and track everything. And I'll put up some spreadsheets and some data, and some diagrams and some images from a website that I use to track some of my progress, and I think you guys will get some value out of that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.